You're listening to the Built in Barcelona podcast with Kris Rawcliffe. Welcome to Built in Barcelona, a podcast about startups, stories, and life in this amazing city. I'm Kris, your host and longtime resident of Barcelona's vibrant tech scene. In each episode, I'm going to sit down with people who've made Barcelona their home, whether they're building companies, working on exciting projects, or just shaping their own version of success here. Today, I'm joined by Alex Hipp, a seasoned product leader, startup founder, and advisor with extensive experience in fintech and B2B SaaS. He's founded multiple companies, raised millions in funding. We're going to talk about his journey, his take on living and working in Barcelona, and what he's learned along the way. Alex, welcome to the podcast.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for taking the time. Good morning. So yeah, let's dive into it. How long have you been in Barcelona?
It's going to be 6 years in May.
6 years, okay. I'm 8 years in, so a little bit longer than you. But 6 years is a good tenure. What brought you here in the first place?
A couple of different things, to be honest. There was always the wish to live closer to the sea. Before my girlfriend and I, we lived in Hamburg, which is like an hour away from the sea in Germany, northern Germany. And then I had a job offer. Like I joined the fintech N26 as a product person, and they offered me to either go to Berlin or Barcelona. I know that there is a huge tech scene in Berlin as well, but I've never been a huge fan of the city itself. So for us, it was pretty clear. Let's go to Barcelona. My girlfriend also worked for a company that had an office in Hamburg as well as in Barcelona. So the switch was rather easy for her as well.
Amazing.
In the same company. And yeah, like now both working remote, still in Barcelona. So it is hard to go somewhere else.
This was actually meant to be the first place of many for me. Like I really had it clear, like, okay, I'm going to leave London and I'll go to Barcelona and I'll maybe be there for a couple of years and then I'll go somewhere else. And actually Berlin was a place I was really thinking about. When I made the decision to move here, it was either Barcelona or Berlin. And I chose Barcelona for similar reasons to what you just mentioned, you know, sort of living close to the sea and having a bit more of a kind of sunny lifestyle. But I really thought that this would be kind of a jumping off point to other places. And yeah, it really quickly grabbed me, you know, like
it didn't work out, right?
With the years to leave. And with that, I mean, after 6 years of being here, what's something about being in Barcelona that still surprises you?
What is still surprising to me, but in a very positive way, is how many friends and family come to visit to Barcelona without just visiting me. It is a city where there is a lot of tourism happening, and a lot of my friends and family members, they come here because they want to. And it's not only that they have to visit us, but they come here and then I can visit them, or former colleagues from Hamburg, from London, from other places in the US. Like, it is super nice to bump into people that you know from somewhere else. Just the other day, I bumped into a former coworker from Hamburg that I didn't know that he is living in Barcelona now. And now we almost meet every other week because his way to work is the same, like me dropping off my daughter in the Galleria. So it is quite nice to have these kind of small surprises.
Yeah.
Week by week, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's never difficult to convince somebody to come to Barcelona, right?
And it's getting more and more, I have the feeling. Like coming here 6 years ago, the very first time, actually never been to Barcelona before I signed the contract to work for the company here. So I came here after signing the contract to check it out, and we said, okay, it's a good decision, let's do it. But comparing like the areas like Poblenou with like now a lot of startups and tech scene happening from like the very small 1-2 people companies all the way up to the Amazon and Microsoft and like the very big ones. It has changed a lot. The very beginning, N26 was at a co-working place close to Plaza Catalunya with like 20 people. Now they're, I think, 250 in like a super modern new office in the heart of Poblenou, close to the Rambla of Poblenou. And it's a lot of these stories, like similar stories like 26, where they come here, they set up a tech hub because it's a really nice access to a lot of talented developers, designers, product people from South America, from the US. Like I have lots of colleagues from like all over Europe when I worked at N26. So that's quite nice. And the way it's progressing in the last 6 years is probably one of the biggest ones in Europe, I would say.
Yeah, it's interesting actually. Like this person that I met up with last night is working for a subsidiary of AstraZeneca. So she works in the life sciences industry, and she works for a company that was acquired by AstraZeneca that have offices here. And AstraZeneca is growing their presence here. I think she was saying to me that AstraZeneca is investing up to like about 2 billion euros in Barcelona.
Oh, wow.
Which is significant. And she said that she really, one of the reasons she decided to come to Barcelona over Zurich, for example, is Zurich is a well-known kind of health hub, but that actually a lot of the pharma companies are diverting investment away from Switzerland because it's incredibly expensive, and investing more in hubs like Barcelona.
Which I can totally understand. Like I'm originally from like very close to the Swiss border in Germany. So I know how expensive Switzerland actually is, but it hasn't been all like this all the time. I still remember like 25 years ago, my grandparents, they drove with the car to Switzerland to get gas because it was cheaper than in Germany.
Really?
So now it is totally the opposite. But yeah, like different story.
Funny.
It has changed.
Okay, so you moved here with N26, and what were you doing for them?
I was one of the product managers, mainly responsible for the subscription business. So they have different tiers where customers get different kinds of interest rates or access to features, and those are tiered in like a free tier or paid tiers. So you get more interest if you pay a bit something on the side. And I was mainly responsible to kind of help the customers to identify the tier that fits their needs, and then hopefully showing them value and delivering them value over long term and kind of keeping them engaged and in the business. So that was quite interesting because when I joined N26 was still kind of considered a startup. So we were a couple of hundred people when I joined, and after 2 years when I left, they were like 1,500, 1,600 people. So we had quite a hypergrowth phase to go through. So lots of learning and not being remote. Like we went to the office every day, which was quite nice because I think, not sure if it's still the case, but at that time, I think it was the most modern office building in Europe that they have built in Poblenou.
Wow.
Which was completely self-sustaining and like it was completely new. Like they opened it and we moved in the very first day.
It must have been amazing being part of a company in that kind of hyper growth stage. What would you say was kind of like one of the biggest learnings for you out of that experience?
That's a good question. And I always see it a bit two-sided because yes, it is great. You learn a lot. You can create a lot of impact. Like whatever you do, everything should be something big. Like you're not iterating on like small features or something, but we ran A/B tests or experiments that were like saving the company millions of euros every year. Like this kind of impact, that's what you want to do, right? On the other side, you also get a lot of pressure. There is very small margin of you can be wrong. So you have to like put a lot of effort into understanding customers and making the right decisions, and like a lot of different people from different backgrounds, and they now need to work together to build a product. And in that case, it's been a product for like 5 core markets that are completely different, with France, Germany, Italy, Spain, and back then the UK, as well as now then they went to the US. I think they stopped that because banking is just very specific to the country.
Sure.
So you had to go into like a lot of different types of people and understand how they want to bank, but still creating an experience that is not too specific to each country. So that was a bit of a stretch, but I would do it again. Like, I think I learned more than it actually hurt in the end. But yeah, it's like hypergrowth is a different beast. And after now founding something on my own and getting some VC investment, I can also understand the founders of N26 or all the other founders better on kind of why they probably took some decisions this way. Like going through this kind of story myself opened up my eyes quite a lot on also kind of, okay, what's important to them and why did they probably decide this way? And probably back then it felt a bit like, okay, what are they doing? But now it makes so much sense that they're kind of, okay, we need to make sure that the business survives. And how do we do this? Like understanding what customers want and delivering them the service that they want to pay for, like the real fundamentals.
Yeah.
So it was pretty good, yeah.
And did you go straight into building your own company after N26? Was that the next step for you?
On paper, it would look like I stopped working and then I started something new, but it kind of built up over a couple of years. Like I always had the push in me to kind of, okay, I want to start something on my own. I want to invest my time in something that is completely mine. I decided pretty early that I want to go to a couple of bigger companies to kind of understand how it works. So in university or like during my university time, I was doing a bit of development on the side, nothing crazy. Like we didn't have AI back then. So I was probably more like on the junior side. Now with AI, that has changed a bit. But then kind of going all the way into product management in bigger companies to understand how product is actually built and learning from others and learning from being part of a team. And then I always had the goal of founding something myself. So I started a couple of side projects and we later also my co-founder and still one of my best friends, we started a couple of different projects that had nothing to do with Beyond in the end. So I think the very first thing that we built together was a kind of a curation platform for Spotify. You were able to kind of curate together with others on one playlist, and then you kind of get a fresh play, like almost like the weekly playlist that you're getting from
Yeah.
Spotify, but completely curated by real people.
Okay.
So it was kind of the very first project that we built, never with the intention to make it big or sell it, but rather to just build something on our own.
Okay.
And then a couple of other projects. I did a project with my father and my brother, who are more in kind of the engineering, medical instruments kind of industry. And we did something around 3D printing. So I wanted to explore a bit and try out things while still having a normal job, which I would
Right.
recommend to everyone. Like, don't just stop and completely immerse yourself in the new thing, but rather keep your job and try out different things on the side until you see certain signals that you're going in the right direction before completely quitting. Because not having a salary can be quite like hard,
Yeah.
which I learned the hard way. But then after N26, we said, okay, my co-founder Shane, he was in Entrepreneur First in Berlin. So like in an incubator trying to build up a company. And around the same time, I was like, okay, I want to do something different. And then we kind of said, okay, let's try to make it work. And we already had an idea which is completely different from what Beyond is doing today. But we said, okay, let's jump and try it out. And so it was a clear cut, but it was kind of building up over a couple of years.
Yeah, so you were sort of trying out a few different things and kind of exploring a few different areas before jumping into something that felt like it was the right direction, and doing that with a co-founder. Which I mean, is that something that you would recommend? Because I believe you started with the co-founder, and now Beyond's gone in a different direction, and you're by yourself now, right?
Yeah. So at the moment, I'm bootstrapping. We started with two co-founders. At one point, we were actually three. One learning along the way that I would recommend to everyone to start a company only with someone they know really well, because like it is almost like getting a baby together.
Right.
Like there is a lot of debate, there is a lot of like back and forth and kind of working together, really intense. And it's not like you can just quit. Like it is a bigger thing.
Like a
That's one
marriage.
learning. Yeah, it is almost like a marriage. Like you put it on paper, like that you're responsible for this thing, and like also like splitting up is rather hard, because like we're still really good friends or like best friends, but I think there's a lot of companies where the splitting up of two co-founders who've been friends before had completely different implications on their kind of personal life.
Wow. Separating the personal, right? That must be really difficult
Yeah.
in that scenario.
Yeah. And I was super lucky, to be honest, because Shane, his personality, like he is really someone who can split this. Like we had debates and we had discussions on how we want to do something. Like that's totally normal. But it was always really about the thing itself. It never went personal, and we always kind of separated this. Okay, how do we solve this? How would you do the best for the business and the people that we work with? And we never made it personal. But yeah, you need to find the right person, I think, to actually do that.
And so that's quite interesting. So within Beyond's journey, then you've had an experience where you had a co-founder and you went through a VC investment journey. And then in the second phase, you're now bootstrapping by yourself. I mean, what's your learnings from those experiences? Maybe start with the VC side of things.
Yeah. So we started with an idea that we wanted to raise money for. It was around content curation, which was kind of a hard sell, and we probably also didn't do a really good job in kind of fundraising first time founders, which I now completely understand. Like there is a difference if you do it the first time or the second or third time. So a lot of different things, I guess, came together when we didn't manage to raise money for this first idea. Like we had a prototype, we had a couple of people using it. So we were good on the building side. We were just not good on the raising funds side. So after a couple of months trying it out, we actually found one angel who invested and helped us to get over a couple of builds, because we hired a freelance developer, like without having the funding 100% secured. So there was quite a lot of learning on how not to do it. And then we said, okay, we can either like stop, do something completely different, go back into normal work relationships with company, or we try something else. And that was kind of when the crypto wave came up. So there was a lot about crypto and community, and Shane was already pretty involved in kind of the crypto side of things. And I got pretty interested pretty fast, because I still think it is quite a nice technology that's unfortunately still looking for a great use case, but the technology side is nice. So second time trying to raise funds for this new idea, we also did it totally different. Like we said, we are putting the whole fundraising process into a specific time slot. So we planned everything ahead. We built a pipeline. We went through all the best practices on how to raise funds. And then it worked out. Like we were lucky enough to find two great VCs that wanted to work with us, one from the US, from the UK. I still admire on how they kind of work together with us, because they were always super professional and super supportive. Even then, after the crypto market kind of vanished overnight, they were always very supportive and kind of, okay, like we gave you the money and we believe in you. We think you can pull something off. And we pivoted after that a couple of times into different directions. Then at one point we hired a lot of people. We were like 10, 15 people at one point.
Okay.
We then said, okay, we don't see the signals that we have to see to raise a Series A, because also if you pivot a couple of times, the time frame you actually have to show that something is working is getting smaller and smaller. So we took the decision to buy back most of the shares from the VCs. So I didn't know that this is possible, but it is, because we said, okay, why waste money even further? But for me, it was always clear that the problem space that we ended up in, which is like building something for product managers like myself, is what I want to do. Like, I was in that space already with a project I did, PM Library. Like, it's a curation for product people on in terms of content and books. And for me, it's really like, okay, this is what I understand. I have a lot of friends and a lot of people I talk to in product. So for me, it was quite natural to be in this problem space and see what's missing. And I always had the dream to build a product completely from scratch, all by myself. So I said, okay, I keep going with Beyond. The good thing is Beyond as a name and the brand is generic enough to stand for a lot of different things. And we were small enough to be able to kind of move the brand to something completely different. So what I'm doing right now is like bootstrapping. I split my days in coding, selling, designing. Most of the product work that would actually happen in a team with other people is actually just happening in my head, which is quite nice. I've never been the biggest fan of stand-ups, so that was kind of the journey from going the VC route, now bootstrapping. And I think there's advantages in both. Some of the teams or some of the ideas or solutions that people come up with, they definitely need more people. So you need funding. I think if you're building SaaS, especially today in like all the AI capabilities and stuff that you can come up with an MVP rather fast and easy. If you're one or two people, try to get as far as possible, in my opinion, without going the VC route. If I would do it again, probably in the very beginning, working on that content curation thing, just build and build and build a great product that people love, and then try to make them pay and bootstrap it. Probably the second product that we worked on, I still think VC funding was necessary just because we had to be very fast because there was a lot of competition around that time. So you really need to look at it from a case by case situation on if VC makes sense or funding makes sense or if bootstrapping is the better idea.
Okay. And you were doing you raised that VC money from Barcelona, right? You were doing that remotely.
Yeah, it was during the pandemic, and we were 3 people in the raising team. 1 sitting in Berlin, 2 sitting in Barcelona, and it was a bit of a funny situation because for 2 weeks we kind of sat in the flat of my co-founder. We were just kind of powering through 15, 20 calls a day, almost. Probably was a bit less, but it felt like 15 to 20 calls a day for 2 weeks or 2.5, 3 weeks. So yeah, after we secured that funding, that was quite a relief and something to celebrate.
Okay. Interesting. And what's been the biggest challenge in building this out so far?
Yeah, it's a bit of a mix. Like I said, I've never been the best developer. So for me, it was like, okay, I need a couple of months to actually understand how I built this properly. Even if AI now and this kind of wipe coding seems to allow everyone to just build whatever they want, like that's not entirely true. Like if you build a tool where multiple people should in real time collaborate with each other and it should be secure and properly set up, there is a bit of learning or a bit of a learning curve to actually get it done. I've never dealt with like database setup or like all these kind of stuff before. So for me, that was kind of a learning curve, but it's definitely worth it. Like I enjoy that part quite a lot. And the second part is selling. Like I was never a good salesperson, so I need to force myself in kind of selling the tool and like selling also something that I probably don't have like properly built out yet, just to see what's the interest in my target group. So yeah, that's kind of the challenges for me.
Okay. And what stage are you at the moment?
Like I have a lot of people of my target group in my community, people following me. I try to be helpful and supportive in terms of writing articles on things, interviewing other product managers, to just showcase on like, that there is more than just the couple of people that are very loud on LinkedIn in terms of product management, but there's like a huge community in product managers that don't actively share. So I'm kind of forcing them to share more on how they work and what their best practices are. And so engaging myself quite a lot in my target group, in the community, and then kind of also interviewing them and understanding how they struggle in working with decision trees or in specifics with the opportunity solution tree.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you're incredibly busy. What's kind of your perfect non-work day in Barcelona?
What we do quite often, and something I would definitely miss, is like you can walk everywhere. Like we have a dog and a daughter, so we walk to the beach, let them play, and in summer go into the water for sure. And then on the way back, grab a nice coffee somewhere in Poblenou. So I think you can spend quite a really nice day outside of the tourist spots, but on the beach or checking out a couple of different cafes and stuff. And what's quite nice also, and if you don't want to be in Barcelona itself, there is so much to explore around. We do have a car. Almost every weekend we drive out for like an hour and a half, or even less than that, and you're in like mountain ranges. And
Yeah.
there's Montseny, which is quite a nice area to hike. You can go skiing in like 2.5 hours
Yeah.
to the Pyrenees. Montserrat is a pretty amazing and special hike as well. So
Yeah.
there's definitely a lot of different things that you can see.
Yeah, and that's one of my favorite things about living here. I don't think it's actually Barcelona itself, it's Catalunya. Got, like, as you said, the Pyrenees, we've got the Costa Brava, you've got Montseny super close, you've got even the Collserola, which is just at the back of Barcelona. If you're into cycling or hill running or anything like that, like within 15 minutes you can be in what doesn't feel like the city at all. You know, there's beautiful natural parks. So I totally agree with you on that. That for me, the magic of living here is Barcelona is great, but actually Catalonia is just incredible.
Yeah, I agree.
And you mentioned cafes and coffee spots. Do you have a favorite?
So we always go, or most of the time go to Three Marks.
Yeah,
It's a perfect little walk from our place, and it's on the route to the Galleria where we drop off or pick up our daughter.
mm.
So it's quite nice. They have a great concept, in my opinion, where they don't just open like thousands of coffee places all over Spain. They rather focus on quality of coffee and quality of service. And then, like, even my co-founder now living in Lisbon, he's ordering coffee from Three Marks
Really?
online because
Wow.
and his girlfriend or his wife by now is a former barista, so she knows what kind of quality she wants. So that's our favorite spot where we
Yeah,
also go on the weekend.
Yeah, I used to live very close to there. It's a really good spot. Interesting that that your ex co-founder is ordering it from Lisbon, but I think they have won a lot of awards and things, right? The Three Marks coffee.
Yeah, I think so. Not only the coffee is good, but also the baristas that they work with. They know what they're doing, and also the design and the brand. I think they're building a really nice community. I just saw that the other day. They also deliver coffee to the VIP launch of FC Barcelona in the stadium.
Really? Wow, impressive. Um, yeah, no, I like that coffee spot as well. Any other hidden gems in the city? Anywhere else that you really like?
A great lunch spot that we usually go to, which is close to Glorious Park. It's an Italian place called La Fame or La Fame. Super nice, small Italian place with like changing dishes every day. And they have a lunch menu, 13 euros or something, but
Okay.
they do everything completely handmade by themselves. So the pasta and everything is like almost as if you've been invited by a friend, and they cooked at home. So we go there quite often.
Okay. You'll have to send me the link. One of the ideas that I had for this podcast was to sort of create a curated list of hotspots in the city from the guests of Built in Barcelona.
It's a
So this
great
will be the
idea.
first recommendation as well as Three Marks, of course. So yeah, I'll have to get the link from you and I'll post it along with this recording. Um, and I mean, it's interesting as well. So you mentioned a couple of times you have a daughter. How do you view raising a child here in the experience you've had so far?
I can compare it to myself growing up in a very small town, or a village with 3,000 inhabitants in southern Germany, pretty rural. Like my childhood was like super safe. There was like nothing happening. Everything was pretty clear and straightforward in my head. So I think for her, it's quite challenging, to be honest. Like different languages in the Galeria, they speak Spanish, English, Catalan, and German, because there are a couple of other German children as well. So it is quite hard for her probably to kind of get into all these different languages and like see so many different things every day. But on the other side, I think it's really nice to kind of grow up with a lot of different cultures and a lot of different things that she actually experiences, and is being able to see, even with like 2 years old, like she's been to a couple of different places and she is super happy going to the beach, and like she loves the water, and she loves like if when we go hiking and like all this kind of stuff, which yes, I could also do in Germany, but especially the beach probably is quite nice with a child, because it's just
Yeah.
like a lot of sand and
Yeah.
they love that. So no, I think it's pretty positive for her. Probably would be, or at least I would think it could be a bit negative if we don't have the chance to drive out of the city and explore. So I think I'm happy that she's able to do that and kind of also see something different than just city on the weekends.
The part that you touched on about the multicultural aspect and certainly the languages is one of the parts that I'm most excited about for future children. Is like to be trilingual, or in your case, four languages from birth. It's just amazing. What a gift! Like coming from the UK, where we all just speak one language, to have the option to be able to speak three, without even really thinking about it, is just incredible. So yeah, I think that's a really exciting aspect of raising children here, I think.
It's also pretty funny and when she's talking, because at the moment she's mixing the languages. So like like she doesn't do proper sentences, but she's starting to use these like 2-3 word kind of sentences, and she's using one Spanish word and two Germans, or one Spanish word and two English words. So it's, you have to guess quite a lot on which language she's currently actually using.
Oh, that's very cute. And you think you guys will be here for the foreseeable? What's kind of what's next for you, your family?
Yes, definitely. So we're currently looking into buying something in Barcelona and
Okay.
staying long term. Like both of us now working remote.
Mm.
My girlfriend works for a UK company remotely as well. We could actually go everywhere or anywhere, but then also the question arises like where and why. So we feel pretty happy and we like it quite a lot here.
Okay. Exciting. Well, I wish you the best of luck, and I'll obviously be following your journey. Where can people follow along if they want to see how you're progressing?
So I share quite a lot on LinkedIn. So Alexander Hipp on LinkedIn is probably the best place. Feel free to reach out. I'm more than happy to also share more in detail recommendations on fundraising or bootstrapping or building a startup. Like I think we checked all the boxes in what can go wrong with like market drifts away, co-founder splitting, which I had to learn the hard way. So I'm more than happy to spare with someone.
And fun one to end on then. What's another business that you'd love to build?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I would be pretty much interested in everything around the environmental changes at the moment. So like I don't have any solution to any specific problem, but I guess the next or a gig I would probably focus on something around environment and how tech can actually make things better, because it is a huge issue at the moment. So I think everybody who can should work on that topic.
If you ever do get the opportunity to turn your attention to that, I think Barcelona is quite an interesting place to do that, because there's a bit of focus on kind of impact tech here now. So you've got like a couple of community-based co-work spaces, one being Norsken, the other one being the Impact Hub, that are specifically focused on tech companies trying to tackle climate and sustainability challenges.
Yeah. That would be nice.
Well, Alex, this has been a great chat. Thanks so much for sharing your insights and your story. Yeah, that's it for this episode of Built in Barcelona. If you've enjoyed this conversation, make sure to subscribe and share it with anybody that might be interested in Barcelona's startup scene. I'll also be posting some clips from this conversation on our LinkedIn page, Built in Barcelona. Thanks for listening, and see you next time. And Alex, thank you very much.
Thanks so much for having me.